Well, no, I don't see many people being called to repentance. How about your church? How about your church you go to? Has everyone in your church been called to repentance? Well, if your preacher never talks about sin, if he never talks about the breaking of God's law, sin is the transgression of God's law, 1 John 3:4. Well, how could they be? How can they even come to repentance if you never talk about the law of God, if you never talk about conviction of sin, which is the breaking of the Ten Commandments? You know, as we look at our society, 68% of Americans say divorce is morally acceptable. 68% of Americans say divorce is morally acceptable. 60% of Americans say having a baby outside of marriage is morally acceptable. 59% of Americans say gay and lesbian sexual relationships are morally acceptable. 63% of Americans say sex between unmarried men and women is morally acceptable. And you believe God is calling everybody to repentance right now. That's what you believe. Well, if you believe that, I've got some swampland in the Mojave Desert I want to sell you real cheap. Now let's go one step further. If you don't believe God is calling everyone to repentance, what does that tell you? Well, it tells you that God is not calling everyone to salvation at this time. He's simply not. That's what that tells you. Matthew 22 and verse 14 says this. Why is this verse in the Bible? Many are called, but few are chosen. And I would have to say, yeah, that's a true statement today. Many are called, but the end result is few are chosen to be the first fruits. Now, why? Why are few chosen at this time? Why is it that there are few chosen at this time? It has a lot to do with the way a person responds to the calling of God. It really does. And let me explain how the calling often works. You know, God shows you a little bit of truth. And if you are compliant to that truth, He'll show you a little bit more truth. And if you're compliant to that truth, He'll show you even more truth. But the moment we stop being compliant, often He cuts us off from truth. Hence, many are called, but few are chosen. Now, a lot of religious people, I believe, choose to believe in a no-law theology. What is that? Well, the law's been nailed to the cross. It's been fulfilled. It's Mosaic. It's the Old Testament. Jesus did it all for you. Grace plus nothing. Just accept. Just enter in. That's all you got to do. There's the law. A lot of churches have a no-law theology that they teach. God would call them, but because they reject truth, they are not chosen. Okay? Now, this is explained in the parable of the sower. Only about 25% of the land is good soil. You have the four categories of soil. You have those that fall by the wayside. You have the stony ground. It springs up, it's no root. You have the others that are planted in the thorns and weeds, and it comes up for a little while. But anyway, and then you have the good soil. So if you look at these soils, each one, 100%, each one represents 25%. Well, the good soil is only 25%.